I could talk about it all day. That's how important leadership is. You get it right now, and everything else will flow from it. I know I look like a crazy person coming out of the forest who's like, I found it, it's leadership, but it really is. Get better at it now, everything else will be better later. Our next speaker is coming to us virtually, coming to us online, the only online speaker today. We're very happy about this. We're talking about the aerospace industry. We've got a representative from Vertical Aerospace, the CCO. We're talking about VTOLs, eVTOLs, vertical takeoff and landing craft. They're the airplanes that can go straight up and then fly off. It looks like some science fiction, but it's real. And our panelists today will be discussing how did we get to this. So to talk us about this, to bring us in any moment on the big screen, please have a warm welcome for Eduardo Dominguez Puerta. There we are.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me here with you. It's a bit a pity that I cannot be physically with you, but it's fascinating what you're sharing there, and it's fascinating, to hear about the startups, growth, leadership, and everything that is needed. I think you're a very innovative and digital country, and everything I'm hearing today, it's music to my ears. Um, Keeping the line on leadership, it takes a lot of leadership to develop an industry. And this is what we're trying to do, actually. We're trying to go faster, quieter, greener, and basically smarter. And, I've been working on this industry for the last 8 years. I've been working on aeronautics for the last 20 years of my life, making things fly. And I really like that approach that was mentioned before by Patrick: crawl, walk, run, and fly. And I'm preaching this since more than 8 years. I wanted to do a flying motorbike in 2014, all electric, that I didn't do. But before I convince you about the future, I want to talk about what has happened over the last 7, 8 years, so that you understand that this is not a dream. This is already in the make, and this is happening sooner than what you think. So let me start with hope the clicker works. Up. Sorry, let me just try to connect again to the clicker. And sorry for the technical problems. Up. Yeah, now it works. So I would like to share a concept that is called technology Darwinism. I think we all know what technology is. I think we all have read about Darwinism and how the species that adapt are the ones that survive. And actually, if you look at technology, if you look at disruption, if you look at innovation, always the future is based on the past. And we need to look at the past. We need to look at the things that worked and whether we enhance them through new capabilities, whether we are able to hit a different cost base to bring those new products to market. And we have seen that development, on the computer, on the software world. We have seen that development on the EV world and how vehicles are getting to zero emissions on the road. And what you see on the right is a beautiful helicopter. The helicopter is a beautiful machine that was invented by Sikorsky and that has done a lot of things for humanity. And what you see on the top is our beautiful VX4, an eVTOL. And there's a real evolution and there's a differentiation between those. The eVTOLs are going to be safer, they are more redundant, they don't have a single point of failure like the rotor of the helicopter. They're going to be cheaper to operate because they have many less moving parts. They're going to be easier to maintain, cheaper to maintain, and actually they're going to be quieter, 100 times quieter than helicopters, and they're going to be sustainable. And when you add all that up, for me, there's no question that the eVTOLs are the future. The helicopters will prevail for some particular missions until technology scales. but the change is happening already. Since 2015, 14, Vertical has been flying objects, has been learning, has been failing, and has been growing. And like Vertical, a lot of companies around the world have been trying to do so. And I must say that I have an enormous respect for all the people that try. I think trying is the secret to success. If you don't try, you never get it. But also learn. And what you see in 2018 is our first proof of concept, POC. It was a quadcopter, very inefficient, but it taught us a lot about the difficulties of putting masses in the air and how to use electrical technologies on it. What you see in 2019, we moved our technology into the Seraph, an hexacopter, and we understood as well how important it is, the world of flight control systems, software, cooling, etc. And we reached a conclusion that these vehicles need to have wings. If you look around the world and you look at nature, there are very few, if none, birds that have no wings. And there's a reason for that, because if you don't have wings, you need to pull energy continuously, and at the end of the day, you burn your batteries. Therefore, technology is not ready for this. However, if you have wings, when you're flying, you can relax your batteries, and actually the technology fits. And this has been the genesis of our VX4, which is a vector thrust vehicle that you will see later on. But this has been a process of learning, failing, growing, and continue learning and evolving, which is, I think, the spirit that any startup should have. You also need money. You cannot develop technology on the vacuum. And it's incredible how investment has flown into the aeronautical domain and into the new space domain over the last 6, 7 years. This is just an example of what happened in 2021. And what you see on the right is the type of people that are understanding the interest on this space. You can see car manufacturers, you can see technology companies, you can see airlines, motor providers, but all credible capital, credible technology, credible companies. And I think that is giving a good sign that there are a lot of people that are believing and trusting this development more and more. We also see the rest of the ecosystem developments. We see that 8 years ago, these vehicles had no regulation. They were not, we were not able to use them and fly them commercially because there was no framework for them to operate. The regulators had to learn a lot. And since then, FAA, EASA, CAA, GCAB in Japan, all regulators, the people that take care that we are safe every time we fly in an aircraft in any place in the world, have developed those frameworks because they believe in this technology, they believe in these vehicles, and they want to prepare the ground for them to operate. At the same time, you see a lot of industry groups, ANSP, air traffic controllers around the world, a lot of airports, even pilot training companies that are really preparing the turf for this. So this is not a one-man show. This is not a one-company show. If you really want to create this type of industry, you need to partner along the way with a lot of people. And, fail fast, fail cheap is good for software companies in the Silicon Valley, and I've been there. But fail fast, fail cheap doesn't work when you are flying people above people. So we need to be safe, and I think that's the most important message I would like to send you is that we're conscious of the responsibility of flying people, and speed to market is good. We want to be the first, but we also want to be safe, because if safety is not there, the whole market will fall and we will never flourish. What do people think? I think we have been dreaming about the Jetsons since we are kids. Flying carpets. I think there is something mythical on flying, and I think that makes the world smaller. Um, there is the huge wave of big cities, urban congestion. There is this big wave of sustainability, global warming. We need to decarbonize the use of energy on the way we move ourselves, we move loads and cargo. So You just need to listen to what people say, and what you see is just a survey that was run in Europe, and you can see that the biggest majority of people are willing for this to happen, are willing to get into a plane and have an additional mean of transportation that goes beyond the trains, that goes beyond the cars, that goes beyond the bikes, etc. A new lever, something new that they could use. So we need to fulfill those needs. What you see as well is that, as I mentioned before, the regulators have moved, but I think the governments have also listened to the people. And you can see programs all over the place, subsidizing or providing frameworks for people to test, in cities, do some demos, try to see if this will work, and try to bring this technology up. I think in Estonia, you have also an opportunity to study how these new technologies could bring you some social development, how to link different cities around your country, how to link your country with other countries that are neighbors to you. And, I think most of those countries are seeing the interest on exploring this. Now, all this being said, this has happened. It's not that I'm talking to you about the future. This has happened over the last 7 years. Consistently, we were working towards all these things, and this is where we are now. So now what we're doing is we're really working, bringing the product to market, maturing that product for that product fit, and scaling. And honestly, this is a very exciting phase on our company, as you will see. Um, and let me talk to you a bit about the beauty. I think beyond the fact that this looks awesome, and our designers have done a magnificent job to put this plane together. This is going to be a piloted aircraft. The reason why it's piloted, even though it's going to be very highly technology loaded, is because we believe that the regulatory framework needs a pilot to be able to sell now. If we were to work on autonomy, we should wait for those regulations to come up, which will happen in the next 10, 15 years. And this will carry up to 4 passengers with their luggage on distances of up to 100 miles, which actually might seem pretty low. But if you remember the beginning of the EVs, I recall you that the first Roadster from Tesla was about 50 to 60 miles, and so was the Zoe from Renault, that could do a maximum of 80 kilometers. We believe that there's a market. We believe that there are case studies where you can bring people around hubs and link it with commercial airlines. You can also look at missions in places in the world that are isolated or disconnected. And you can look as well at the tourism sector, the medical sector, and any sector that today has been using helicopters, because we will be able to bring the cost of operation down, and we will bring a better product out there. So we have been working on this beauty for the last 3 years, based on the two prototypes that I mentioned before. We are keeping in-house the technology of the overall aircraft design. We're keeping in-house the battery technology, which is going to be a key differentiator for these electrical planes. And we're also looking at the propeller design for the sake of performance and noise. We believe that those are going to be key technologies for these type of vehicles, and we want to have them in-house. But we're also very humble. We want to be the best OEM in the world. We want to be the best company serving our customers. But we are humble because we know you need great partners to do this. And for that reason, I'm very proud to say that we are backed, by really giants that have done planes in their lives, that have scaled products, that have certified them. People like Rolls-Royce, who will be doing our motors. People like Honeywell, that have done the flight control systems of the F-35 and will be providing ours. People like Microsoft, who are an investor in our company and are also providing us high capability for computing, for modeling. Molicel, that is providing us the cells for the batteries, and GKN, Leonardo, and big names in the classical aeronautical industry. And the reason why that we have gone that way, looking for those type of partnerships, is because we actually believe that you cannot do this alone. And if you manage to create a great team of companies, we will be able to put this up. We don't want to create just one plane. We want to create one plane that is able to transport people, but we believe that there is a real business around the medical. Initially, we could imagine having a doctor and a lying patient in our cabins with a pilot, operating those flights at a much lower cost. We could see also the applicability to cargo, to some humanitarian missions, remote places, as I mentioned before. And of course, we see the big market for passenger transportation. Um, we are pragmatic and we want to scale on major cities. We see a great market in Sao Paulo in Brazil. We see a great market, of course, in London, in our home turf. We see Japan. We see, the US with their big market. Of course, we will start small. We will start introducing these planes, and then little by little we will bring them up into other domains like higher temperatures, lower temperatures, or over water, and we will continuously develop our product. Last, but probably most important slide, we have managed to pre-sell 1,400 planes. These planes have a list price of $4 million, so you can make the maths. That creates a very big sign of trust. With these carriers, we're covering the 5 continents. These people have more than 1,000 destinations to operate those planes, and they transport more or less 8% of the passengers in the world. You see American Airlines, which is the biggest airline in the world. You see Iberojet, one of the biggest operators in the Latin America tourism. Babcock, the biggest medical operator in the UK. Bristow, the biggest helicopter operator in the world, and so on. You see people that are interested in including our products into their companies, their portfolios, and trying to provide a much more integrated experience to their passengers. We are proud to be developing the VX4. We really believe that we are bringing our little bit of good things for the world. Are we going to change it? Probably not alone. Are we going to be able to decarbonize and we'll be flying, in the 21st century on this? Probably not. But I'm sure that we are helping humanity move one step forward, develop new means of transportation that are more friendly with nature, and that would allow us, to do things that we never did in the past. So thank you very much for your attention. I'm happy to take questions and look forward to seeing our videos in your beautiful country. Thank you very much.
Eduardo, thank you. Unfortunately, sir, we need to move on with our time, but thank you very much for your talk today. It was very informative. Thank you, sir.